Welcome to Haltech Elite NSP Training Part 23. This training tutorial, we're going to take a look at programming our fuel injector data into our Haltech Elite using our NSP software. And we're also going to be breaking down integrating injector pressure differential into our fueling calculations and why that's going to be important. And you most likely want to go and include that within your calibration file for your engine. Without further wait, let's jump in so we can check this out.
Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at programming fuel injector data into our Haltech Elite specific to the injectors that we're trying to control and work with. I have a set of ID 1300cc injectors installed into my fuel system right now here on our Toyota Supra, so I need to program those here into my Elite. So when I fire up the engine, my fuel modeling side of things is going to be accurate, or at least as accurate as I can make it based on the supplied data from the injector manufacturer. So Injector Dynamics actually supplies all of the data that we need, and we can download it right from their website. I'll be discussing how to do that and where to look for that information if you're running Injector Dynamics injectors. There's all kinds of different injector brands that you might be working with. You'll find that a lot of the injector data from injector manufacturers is not accurate. So we'll enter in what they can give us, but you definitely want to take it as a grain of salt because you might have to change it if you're finding that your airflow and fuel model is completely out of whack. We're going to look at what we can do to spot bad injector data and then how to correct it. We're not going to do that for this tutorial. We're just going to learn how we program the injector data in this work example, and then we'll go through talking about something known as injector pressure differential, which is something that we definitely want to work with whenever we have a fuel pressure sensor added to our fuel system. I would recommend, regardless if you're naturally aspirated or turbocharged or supercharged, to add a fuel pressure sensor and integrate that into your fueling calculations, as I'm going to outline here in this tutorial. The cost of a fuel pressure sensor is relatively low, but adding the fuel pressure sensor and calculating our injector pressure differential channel makes our fueling calculations improved. And if you want to change your base fuel pressure, you do not have to retune the car. If you have a fuel pressure drop, let's say at higher load, high RPMs, maybe your fuel pump's not keeping up, it'll automatically calculate and recorrect your injector pulse width relative to that pressure drop. So it's something that I always try to integrate in all the projects that I'm personally working on with an Elite system, and I'm going to show you how to integrate that. It's actually really straightforward and a very powerful way that we can account for fuel pressure variations in our fuel system, which definitely happens. Most cars I work with, at least 75 to 80% of the cars I work with, have some type of a fuel pressure problem, and that sometimes doesn't present itself into very high power levels. Sometimes it happens at lower power levels, but either way, it is something that we definitely have as a variable that can and will affect our airflow and fuel model. So regardless if we're putting in correct injector data or airflow is spot on, we can still have discrepancies, and it usually comes from fuel pressure. So we definitely want to integrate this. So the first thing I want to do here is talk about some things we want to turn on and make sure are configured so we can work with something like fuel pressure integration or short pulse width integration. We also need to account for the type of fuel system that we have. Do we have a vacuum referenced fuel pressure regulator that'll vary our fuel pressure according to our manifold pressure, or do we have a fixed fuel pressure system that's going to be known typically as a returnless style fuel system where we don't have a return line, and there's a mechanical regulator that's keeping the fuel pressure fixed at a certain amount as the fuel's coming from our fuel pump going into the feed line. So let's take a look here at configuring some of these details and understanding what's going on here. So I'm going to move from my fuel tuning page right here over to my main page. From my main page, I'm going to move to my navigation tree. From here, I'm going to go ahead and expand this out and go into engine configuration. I specifically want to take a look at here under fuel system, turning on my short pulse width adder table. We talked about the short pulse width adder table in our last tutorial and understanding what it actually represented. Now, just really quickly, this is going to help you linearize the nonlinear flow or output of a fuel injector. So when we're getting down to very small pulse widths with a big injector on something like pump gas, this will help keep the fuel delivery more consistent because it's going to regulate and essentially correct for nonlinear behavior or output from the fuel injector. Now, not all manufacturers are going to give you the short pulse width adder values to populate a table with. I'm working with Injector Dynamics 1300cc injectors, and Injector Dynamics does give me the proper short pulse width adder values to bring about a table and actually have something that's accurate. So if you don't have this data, so you have your injectors, you look at your data sheet, you're not seeing short pulse width adder information, don't turn this table on. I'm going to do this in this case because I have that available.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.